Hi, my name is Dwayne Gathers, and welcome to Civitas LA, featuring diverse and emerging leaders who make up this dynamic region and are creating community every day and building a better tomorrow. In these bi-weekly conversations, we hear from, learn from, and are inspired by a new generation of civic entrepreneurs who are forging a path forward in making Los Angeles a stronger, more resilient, and connected group of citizens. Now more than ever, we aim to elevate civic discourse, foster community connections, and promote civic knowledge and engagement across the greater Los Angeles region while elevating diverse and emerging voices in that conversation. We are absolutely delighted tonight because since our launch last year, Civitas LA has focused on elevating and celebrating diverse voices in the civic conversation of our region, looking at community by geography or sector. Today, we're adding a new element of our work focused on community and community building, and that is to launch a new Community Spotlight series in which we explore the diverse and unique communities that make up this vast region and get an inside look at the history, issues, challenges, and opportunities of the day that are driving the civic conversation of that community. Each Community Spotlight episode will feature diverse and dynamic community leaders offering their varied insights and perspectives on these issues and hopefully stimulate food for thought and inspire others to get involved. We are absolutely delighted to kick off this series featuring Leimert Park. So to start with a short history, created in 1927 by Walter H. Leimert, Leimert Park was one of the first planned communities in all of Los Angeles. This community of just 1.19 square miles, located within the city's Crenshaw district, is home to approximately 12,500 residents. Today, Leimert Park has the greatest number of black residents in all of LA, with more than 79% of its residents identifying as such. But that really wasn't always the case for Leimert Park. It was not until a ruling by the Supreme Court in 1948, the U.S. Supreme Court declared racially restrictive covenants legally unenforceable in its landmark decision Shelley v. Kramer, and that was further strengthened by an additional ruling in 1953. Since the 50s, financially successful African Americans began moving into the neighborhood, enjoying the various high-quality amenities in the community. Crenshaw Plaza was one of the first major malls in America. Audubon Junior High School was regarded as superior by LA Department of Planning, and organizations such as the Crenshaw Neighbors were formed to communicate and collaborate with white neighbors and school administrators to maintain an integrated community. Leimert Park started to become an important arts and cultural center in the late 60s with the founding of the Brockman Gallery. The Brockman Gallery nurtured early careers of respected artists such as David Hammons, John Outerbridge, and the more established black artists were also exhibited there, including Elizabeth Catlett, Charles White, John Biggers, Noah Purifoy, and Romer Bearden. While the Brockman Gallery no longer exists, cultural renaissance it fostered in the 1970s and 80s clearly continues. As stated by KCET a couple years ago, nurtured by 3 generations of African Americans with a shared vision of economic self-empowerment, the patronage of black businesses, the cultivation of black arts, and the maintenance of a public commons for political discourse, Leimert Park is not just the crown jewel of black Los Angeles, it is its center. So with us in the studio today, and I'm so grateful that this is the first time that Civitas LA has a full house tonight. So with us in the studio today to discuss the past, present, and future of this distinguished and dynamic community are 3 of its leading stakeholders. Roland Wiley is founder of Raw International, a planning and design firm, and has lived in the area for decades. Diane Robertson is a highly active community advocate, homeowner, and a mom-and-pop landlord in the community. And Akil West, founder and CEO of Soul Folks, a cooperative and creative retail space that empowers emerging entrepreneurs with professional support, resources, and retail channels located on Crenshaw Boulevard in Leimert Park. Diane, Akil, Roland, welcome to Civitas LA.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we're so grateful that you all are here. So let us start with some brief introductions of us, our distinguished community leaders. Diane, we're going to say ladies first.
Thank you, Dwayne, for this opportunity to highlight my beloved Leimert Park community.
I am a lawyer and I work in the entertainment industry. I'm a native New Yorker, born and reared in Brooklyn, and relocated to Los Angeles in the summer of 2006. For the first 6.5 years, I lived in Sherman Oaks in the Valley and moved to Leimert Park at the end of 2013 when I purchased my first home. It was at that time when I finally started to feel anchored here in LA and felt I could make it home. I became immediately involved in the community and sought ways to contribute to the renewed interest I saw in the neighborhood. Before moving to LA, I hadn't heard of Leimert Park, and about a year or so after I arrived, a friend brought me there on a Sunday afternoon. And if you're familiar with the area, you know that Sundays are very vibrant in Leimert Park with the drum circle, vendors, and a host of other activities throughout the day and evening. The people, sights, sounds, and energy just felt very familiar, being from Brooklyn, and in addition, I absolutely loved the Spanish-style architecture. So I knew that whenever I was ready to purchase a home, I wanted it to be in or around that neighborhood, and 6 years later, I did just that, and I'm very grateful to be able to say that I'm now a Leimert Park homeowner, landlord, and community advocate. I take great pride in all three of those roles, and I don't take any of them for granted.
That's amazing. How long have you lived in the community now?
About 7.5 years.
7 years now. Wow, that's great. Akil West, you're next.
My name is Akil West. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Soul Folks. We're in the heart of Leimert Park on Degnan. We just opened up a new space, which you mentioned earlier, on Crenshaw, which is a art space, a community art space for people who are dealing with COVID right now and can't really pay for studio spaces. We have makers classes. The place on Degnan is more or less a retail space where we have over 41 different designers. These designers are from all over the world, including local members of the co-op. Upstairs, we have kind of like a WeWorks for designers, where we have like DTG machines, which is like machines used to actually print on your clothing. We have a podcast set up there, and we do a lot of workers' classes in there as well, and workshops. I'm originally from New Orleans. I came to Los Angeles in I guess the early 80s, like 1985. I went to Audubon Junior High School. Okay. I went to Crenshaw. I graduated from Crenshaw. Leimert Park was like, man, that was the closest thing to like New Orleans. I saw a lot of black people. I saw a lot of arts. There's a place called Fifth Street Dicks I used to go to. I used to frequent that place a lot. That's where I learned to play chess. I kind of like started a group of young men who were all artists and kind of like delinquents from Audubon. We had a group called MBT, and Leimert Park was like our home. And to be back in Leimert Park, trying to bring some information to help these would-be entrepreneurs, man, it's a blessing.
How long have you been in the community now? How many years?
Actually, August 1st will be our first year.
Excellent, outstanding. So, Roland, you're the senior of us all here. Give us your introduction, since I know you've been in the community for about 3, if not 4 decades.
Yes, that's about right. And 40 years, my goodness, longer than that. But even before that, I hail from Indianapolis, Indiana, and proud product of the public school system. Went to public grade school, public high school, State University, Ball State University. And I came out here in 1979, pursuing my career as an architect, having no idea of what Los Angeles was about. It was just an exciting time. I got hired. My first boss was a black woman, Norma Sklaric. She was one of the first licensed black women in the United States. I had no idea. That was a blessing. And I realized that looking at the arc of my career, that she opened up so many doors for me as an architect. And I was determined to be able to open up doors and give back to others as richly as I had the opportunity to work with Norma. I started my own firm 5 years later. I kind of hit that glass ceiling. It was pretty obvious black architects represent about 2% of licensed architects in the country. And
wow.
so we are not promoted. We don't share the same social, political platform that is very necessary as an architect. And so I saw that my best opportunities would be to start my own company. So I started we call it Raw Architecture back then in 1984. I was exposed to View Park about 2 or 3 months into when I first got here. And I was driving my partner. He's still my partner. It was the first friend that I met, Steve Lott. He was driving me through this area that had all these beautiful homes and well-manicured lawns, and just it was beautiful. And I'm looking around, and it's like all black people. And I'm like, wow, what is this? And it was View Park. And I was just fascinated with the amount of beauty and wealth and architecture that was in a community. So that I kind of put a pin in that as I developed professionally in Los Angeles. And by 1988, I was able to purchase a home in View Park.
Okay.
And I discovered Leimert Park. I probably not as cultural as it would be, but in my party days when I first got to Los Angeles, Friday night would be Jackie O's, then the Speakeasy. And then around 1985, a comedy club called the Comedy Act Theater opened up in Leimert Park. And that one was when Robin Harris broke onto the scene. And that was happening. And that got me into Leimert Park. I was kind of familiar with Leimert Park, but I didn't know about it until then. And so I get to the Comedy Act Theater, and then after you get out around midnight or so, you hear this jazz music pouring out of the sidewalk from the world stage. So you're just drawn into Leimert Park, and you just see all these black people, and it's like 2:00 in the morning, and it's still happening. And I'm like, this is the place. And then you kind of wander on over down Degnan to Fifth Street Dix, and you folks are out 2 in the morning. They're still playing chess. And jazz is upstairs, and it's just all this action. And from that point on, I was just drawn to Leimert Park, and living in View Park, that would be my routine, would be to walk through the well-manicured lawns of Leimert Park, walk down to Crenshaw, walk to Leimert Park, and just hang out and just enjoy Leimert Park, enjoy the drumming, enjoying the people, enjoying the energy. It is so unique.
So give us some historical perspective now, given 4 decades, share with us what was going on in the community at that time and how the community has evolved from your perspective over these last 4 decades.
Well, I'll start with the Comedy Act Theater days. It was vibrant. There were many stores, and I also want to give honor and respect to our elders. You talked about an emerging generation that is going to take Leimert Park to the next level. I want to acknowledge the elders that have kept a pulse in Leimert Park. Johnny Raines, Clint Rosemond, James Burks, and Ben Caldwell at Chaos. They have been the men that have kept Leimert Park going. And they've been a major part in sustaining it. And from the Comedy Act Theater days, the Comedy Act Theater closed, and that's when I saw things start to slow down. It closed, I think, around 95. 92 were the riots, or the L.A. rebellion, and Chapman's Market at 43rd and Degnan burned down. And then also it used to be a pharmacy at 43rd Place and Degnan burned down. So that started to change. The dynamics started to change. It just kind of leveled off, and development slowed down, and it just kind of had a pulse. But I will say the pulse of Leimert Park were the drummers. That drummer circle went on every Sunday. It was like the heartbeat, and it kept going. Around 2007, our firm was commissioned to do a master plan for Leimert Park, and that was when the market was at its highest, and there was the opportunity to develop housing. Housing was a big element, and the housing, the prospect of multifamily housing, ironically, in Leimert Park was highly opposed by the community. History. The community perceived multifamily housing at that time as would not attract an upper income population. They saw that as this won't be successful, so they're going to turn it into rental property, and it's only going to be low-income people that will live here. I strongly disagreed with that, but that was the emotional hot button that was pushed. And that's been a story with Leimert Park, is the inertia and kind of the self-destructiveness, if you will. That was in 2007. But what we were able to do was to establish some design principles that we all agreed to refurbish the Vision Theater, to support the small businesses, to make sure there was a nexus between that transit station and Leimert Park Village, to maintain the African culture of Leimert Park, and to help to promote Black ownership. Those were principles that were agreed upon that we carried through in Leimert Park. However, because of the recession, things just slowed down. In the meantime, the Crenshaw LAX transit project was still under development. We were in engineering by that time, and then it went on to bid and then start construction, which is where we're almost at the end right now. And in 2014, I was part of the Leimert Park 2020 vision process, which really looked at where will Leimert Park be in the year 2020. Now, that's a very important part because we knew that things were going to change, and there were some existing conditions, i.e. the homeless population, i.e. the lack of goods and services that needed to be addressed. And so that vision was part of the program, is how will we address that, and I can talk about that later.
Sure.
And of course, People Street was part of that. And then 2020 was COVID and George Floyd changed the world. And one of the things that I really saw that was so hopeful for me was Juneteenth, and that was Soul Folks. Akil's place had just opened, and it was just thousands of Black people in Leimert Park that just really pumped up the energy. And I think that's the catalyst right now that's going to happen with 2020. I just really see that there's a lot of energy with Akil's place, with Hot and Cool, with the Hannum Coffee Shop, with Esselwan Books, with Mark Bradford's artist studios there. I think we're developing and building some really critical mass to make Leimert Park what it could be. And then 2022, next year, the subway will be open and the Vision Theater will be open. So that's just tremendous.
Well, that's a good trajectory of the recent history of Leimert Park. So you've mentioned Akil's place there, and sort of the next generation moving the community forward. So, Akil, Soul Folks was supposed to be, the original idea was a small, high-end sneaker boutique, but you've got this broader vision. So tell us what this broader vision is for Soul Folks as a retail co-op, and the work that you're doing to support entrepreneurs in this capacity.
Well, for Soul Folks, I guess the vision for us is to just to empower these young people, giving them the proper tools, connecting them with the mentorships that they need. We're looking into it's all about ownership for us. We want these young people to look into basically understand the power of manifestation. You know what I'm saying? We want them just to see it, and by seeing it through people like me, like these two lovely people we have here, the fact that these, the entrepreneurs that we have that are coming in to mentor are people that came from their neighborhoods, people who went through the same circumstances that they went through. For instance, we're going to be working with a company called Steelcase. Steelcase is it's a huge high-end furniture company. And what they're going to be doing is we're going to be putting together a workshop to actually teach these young people how to design furniture and help them create their portfolios. To get into these colleges, it doesn't really matter if you have great grades or anything like that, but if you don't have the opportunity to create a portfolio with a company such as Steelcase or the likes, you know what I'm saying, you're you really don't have a sure way in to show what your talents are. So that's one of the things that we're doing, kind of bridging that gap. One of the things we're doing right now also is with LA Unified School District. Their attendance is really low, especially at Crenshaw High School. So one of the programs we came up with is it's a sneaker design class that I'm doing with an organization called Tech Leimert. And so we're partnering with this entrepreneurial program called 3DE. And a teacher at Crenshaw High School named Mr. Brown, who was the entrepreneur teacher when I was there. I always wanted to be in this class, wasn't able to get into the class, but now we're going to be partnering. So that's some of the things that we want to do. We want to kind of like take them from upstairs to the showroom floor. You know what I'm saying? We want to. We have another partnership with Shopify, where we're going to be, by the end of the course, every student is going to walk out with their own business right out the gate. Then we have this art space. The art space is wonderful. I picked up on art when I was in prison. I went to prison for 15 years. One of the big things that I discovered in prison, being in these cells for so long, watching these young people come in and out, is that the story was always the same. They couldn't understand how I was able to do the businesses I've done before I went to prison. I've owned restaurants, clothing stores, coffee houses, everything before I came from prison. And the thing I would always tell them is that I didn't have the fear. You know what I'm saying? I really didn't know that I couldn't fly. You know what I'm saying? So, you got to have that understanding. And so I vowed when I came out to make sure that I put those opportunities in front of them. And now I'm doing it with art over on the new space. In the new space, we're going to be teaching them everything from pottery, glass blowing. We're just going to show them all types of medium of arts. You know what I'm saying? And we'll see where that takes them. If you want to support young artists and designers who just happen to be black, come to Soul Folks at 4317 Degnan, or you can go to our website at www.soulfolks.com, or check us out on Instagram at Soul Folks.
Well, I know, Roland, you talked about being involved with the Metro planning, and I remember some years ago, lengthy conversations taking place in the community about the Metro, and I think at one point, Metro didn't have a stop planned for Leimert Park, and that raised all sorts of outcry. So, Diane, I'm interested, you've been very involved in your neighborhood council as a community advocate over there. What do you feel about the outcome of these conversations and what the impact of the Metro will be when it does open up?
Personally, I'm thrilled there will be a stop in Leimert Park. I think that's really important to the community. It'll definitely give a boost to businesses operating in the village, and I believe poise the community to be the destination that it has the potential to be. That said, I do think that we are seeing, to a certain extent, some of the unintended consequences of that with regard to housing development, for example, that is not affordable for many in the community, including people in careers that are essential to our community, like teachers. There's a strong, there's a spike in the residential real estate market where homes in Leimert Park are now going on the market for $1 million plus. Wow. And it is, frankly, just making it very hard and almost impossible for people who grew up in the community to buy there now.
And that conversation came up in our series in Inglewood as well. And, we referenced back then, or reference now, that there was a study that was done by UCLA's Luskin School of Public Policy that found this connection between metro expansions, increased development, and frankly, gentrification, residential and commercial. So I'm just curious to know, Roland as a designer, as an architect, and Diane as a community, neighborhood council leader, how do you move forward and build, and yet sort of, enable folks to remain in place and to grow in place, and not feel as though they are being forced out?
Diane is a great example of one of the things that you can do, and that's being a community activist. Diane started the Leimert Park Jazz Festival, and that gives the community that's existing a sense of ownership. and a sense of purpose to anchor the culture of their community. I think that culture is very important, to preserve the culture of your community. Gentrification is a tough issue. I almost see it as gravity. Money moves. You can't stop money from moving, and where it moves, there's reactions. What I think to help to mitigate displacement, financial education, understanding options as opposed to moving, how to leverage your equity. I think that's a very important element that our community needs to learn. I struggle with that as an architect. There's a sense that if you improve it, that means that's not for us.
Sure.
It means you're designing for somebody else, and it's really hard for me to accept that, because that's absolutely not true. The Destination Crenshaw project is another example of what we are doing to anchor our culture and plant our flag in our community. This is a Black community. This is one of the last intact majority Black communities in the country. Leimert Park, View Park, Baldwin Hills, one of the last. And we need to hold on to it. We need to understand it. We need to be proud of it, and we need to hold on to it. But that's easier said than done.
Well, I know there's, some years ago in the LA Times, there was this article that, featured this running group in Leimert Park, and it caused a lot of social media buzz, because I think there was a white person in the group, and they thought, all holy hell's breaking loose here. And I thought, this is an LA Times story back in, I think it was 2017. And Leimert Park today is roughly 79% Black. That's down from 83%. So, I'm wondering, what is the tenor of these conversations now around gentrification, and, who's leading the charge in terms of, supporting those who want to stay in the community or those who want to buy in the community?
Well, I do think that Roland touched on a really important point, and it's education, frankly. I think Black people need to understand the value of ownership, home ownership and business ownership. Frankly, those are the two greatest pathways to financial security and generational wealth. And as far as home ownership is concerned, and when I say home ownership, I'm talking about both your primary residence as well as investment rental property. Younger people need to understand the value of delayed gratification, in my opinion, making sacrifices today for the long-term gain, understanding the importance of spending money on assets that will appreciate, like real property, as opposed to assets that depreciate, like a BMW. There's nothing wrong with a BMW.
Okay.
You'll have it eventually if you make the right financial decisions today. And so, I really am hoping that we can start having more of those conversations, particularly for, the younger generation coming up to, and I understand that this is a very multi-layered issue. There are still obstacles that, prevent Black people from climbing that proverbial ladder. I get, the disparities in education and, job opportunities and compensation and a whole host of other things. At the same time, there are definitely things within our control, and I'm a firm believer that you do what you can with what you have, and you build from there. I don't think everyone will be a homeowner. I don't think everyone wants to be a homeowner, but to the extent that that is something that you aspire to, I think it's absolutely possible. For the older generation, who are handing down their properties to their heirs, the people who are acquiring those properties, I want them to understand that they don't have to sell to the highest bidder. Hold on to the property, perhaps rent it out instead of selling it. Keep it in the family. I think about what the older generations who are passing on now what they must have gone through to acquire that home, to just give it away or lose it, because I've heard stories of people losing homes because they can't handle the taxes. I mean, that should not happen. Right. That shouldn't be the case.
Yeah, I think the problem of our younger generation is a selfish older generation. And when I say that, I'm saying that the concept of group economics was never installed in us. You know what I'm saying? We understand that we're stronger together. You know what I'm saying? That concept is something that we're practicing at our space. We're pooling our resources. We're purchasing at a cheaper rate because we're buying more together. You know what I'm saying? Those concepts are the concepts that we need to be teaching our youth. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure everybody wants to buy a home, right? But why can't you guys buy a home together,
Absolutely.
one home together?
Absolutely.
Right? Mm-hmm. And I mean, we can go on and on with that one, but we have to keep it in perspective. You know what I'm saying? We can't make it seem as though these young people are, don't have the ideas or the goals to, purchase their own property. And nowadays, these guys are very, very frugal. You know what I'm saying? They're purchasing with the possibility of selling later. They understand the concept of buying a pair of shoes that's going to, go up in value in a couple of months. You know what I'm saying? So they're getting that part. That's happening. Now we just got to meet them where they're at.
And thank you for doing that.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I'm interested in, since, we're moving through the pandemic now, hopefully coming to the end, I'm curious to get your perspectives on how the community was impacted by COVID and the response to COVID, and how do you feel the community will come out of this period of COVID? Roland, any thoughts on that?
Well, no, that's an interesting question. I don't think anyone knows exactly what the future looks like because it's different. What we do know is we're not going back to normal. That's what we know. What we know as an architect planner, what I know is uncertainty. And when you have uncertainty, then you should design with flexibility. So I think that moving forward, things that we do, the way we build our environments are going to be flexible so that they can change to accommodate whatever the issues that are ahead of us, because we do know that there are going to be events, issues, challenges that are ahead, and that we have to have innovative solutions to them. Now, that all to me translates to opportunity, and especially young people need to be aware of these opportunities. How do we accommodate this new way of living? What new business opportunities have emerged as a result of this change in life? How we live, how we drive, how we work, working from home, all of these things are creating new markets. And I can promise you, Wall Street is in their lab figuring it out. And we should be in our lab figuring it out and positioning ourselves to take advantage of these new demands, of these new trends. Right. And so then you look at, what do we have? We have the Crenshaw line opening up. That's going to change. That is going to change our community. We have the Vision Theater is going to be opening up. Think about it.
When does that due to open up?
It's just like, when's Crenshaw going to open?
Yeah, exactly.
It's supposed to open, I would say 2022. 2022 is going to be a big year.
Okay.
But think about it. You're going to have, all of a sudden, the Vision Theater will seat over 700 people. I would say these are first-run Broadway shows can play there. I would say conservatively, people are going to pay $75, $100 for a ticket. All of a sudden, you got 700 people who paid $100 for a ticket. They got a little change in their pocket in Leimert Park. So that's going to be a tremendous opportunity to capture that economic wealth. And if we do our part collectively, because that's what it's going to take, we can have more, and I talked to Akil about it, more places like And these, they don't play around with the shoes. You get
Right.
some Yeezys, you're going to have to pay $400.
I was going to say, the apparel at Akil's place is more than the tickets at the Vision Theater,
But that's what it's all about. I got my hoodie from Akil. I was going to wear it today. I'm still.
Okay. Well, we're going to have to team up and get some Civitas LA hoodies going.
That's right.
So that's a great transition, because as we think about recovery and we think about the impact of the Metro and the Vision Theater and all of these signature events coming to LA over the next couple of years, World Cup soccer, Super Bowl, Olympics, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Akil, you've got this high-end apparel and sneaker business. You decide to set up in Leimert Park. Every time I drive down Fairfax or down Melrose, they're your competitors, but you set up shop in Leimert Park. So how do you see this being sort of a centerpiece in growing out this economic ecosystem in Leimert Park in Black Los Angeles, as opposed to being on Melrose or Fairfax?
I guess Roland and I, we spoke about gentrification being not only from a race point of view, like outsiders coming in, but also we can gentrify. Like soul folks can be considered a gentrifier. You know what I'm saying? We're bringing in a high-end product that's kind of rivaling the vendors or the stores like Sika's store. You know what I'm saying? Where the average item is about $35 to $40. The product is not is not on par with a Soul Folks product. All right. And when I say that, I'm talking about the youth from Fairfax who's searching for more culture, who's coming down to Leimert Park specifically to come to Soul Folks to get what they could get on Fairfax, quality-wise, with the same ticket value. And what I'm saying is that eventually what's going to happen is those other people from Fairfax is going to realize that that ticket item that you can sell in the Leimert Park where the rent is a whole lot cheaper, they may end up coming down. You know what I'm saying? Because one of the biggest problems that we have in Leimert Park, where the largest concentration of black millionaires reside, is that a lot of those people wasn't coming down the hill into Leimert Park.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So when the taste level goes up, those people are going to come down the hill and start purchasing, and they're going to start looking for more items, more things. So that's the thing. So at Soul Folks, my core purpose is to install the sense of community in the students, where when I want their idea of success is not to get successful and open up a place on Fairfax, but to actually come and open up a place here in Leimert Park.
Are you seeing more interest by other potential businesses to open up?
Right, most definitely, and more than that, we have a merchant association, and our job right now is to kind of like trying to raise the value of other merchants' product. Right,
Sure.
So we're helping. You know what I'm saying? So we're actually setting up like teams to actually go into the stores right now and work with Sika, connect them with Shopify, so we can go and take pictures of his product and put it online. So at the same time, his inventory shows that he has a piece of product inside of the space. It sells online. He knows to ship it out. We're working on that. We're trying to create that process just so they can be ahead of the wave, because when, like you said, when this train comes in, it's going to be a big deal, because we got a lot of owners over there who are land sitting, and they're waiting on this train. They're waiting on the Vision Theater, and they're looking for the opportunity to push people out. There's a lot of businesses on that street who are on a month-to-month lease, right? Because these owners are waiting to have an opportunity to get them out of there.
We've talked about, the impact of the Metro. We've talked about culture, and certainly Leimert Park's, being a central player in black arts and culture. So I'm really excited to learn more about the Destination Crenshaw initiative, which, Roland, you hit on, which I know this has been championed by Council District 8, Councilmember Marquise Harris Dawson's office. And this is about a 1.3-mile stretch along Crenshaw Boulevard, which is aimed at celebrating black arts and culture and black LA. So are your organizations involved in helping to design that? What is your role in that, Roland?
I am proud to say we were at the very beginning.
Okay.
Councilman Marquise Harris Dawson came to our firm. To his credit, he wanted a black architect.
Okay.
And he came and told me, I am trying to make lemonade out of a lemon. The lemon being that section of Crenshaw, or Destination Crenshaw, is the only at-grade rail alignment on the line. Everything else is subway. So people coming from the airport, this is the only opportunity they would get to see Crenshaw.
Oh, interesting.
The Crenshaw is world known. It's got a worldwide opportunity that's been even promoted even more by folks like Nipsey Hussle. So we came up with this thought. Let's make this linear art museum that celebrates Black culture. That we've had so many people from LA that have contributed to world culture. Let's celebrate them. Let's create a theme that clearly is unapologetically Black. So when you're in that train and you're walking, you're going through that process, you're going to see all of these elements. It's either art, it's either a plaza that you can linger and kind of look around. It's a view, a deck, a series of events, a series of experiences. What is this going to be? What could this be? And to identify these different opportunities to develop at Crenshaw and Slauson, the wall that has the graphic of Black history, and then a connection to Leimert Park. Those are the three main elements. And then we worked with Nipsey Hussle. And to come up, the name came up at View Park Prep. And the kids, they all showed up for Nipsey Hussle, and they came up with the name of Destination Crenshaw. And so it really caught on, and I have to give a lot of credit to Councilman Marquise Harris Dawson and his team for their vision, for their organization, and for building community support. And now it's going to be extended even further. There's a project that is under construction, the first part of Destination Crenshaw, and it will clearly be Black.
But you mentioned that folks will get to see it as they're on the train. Are there elements to get you off the train and into the community? And how has the community responded to this project? Diane, do you have any thoughts on that?
I haven't been directly involved with Destination Crenshaw, but I think it's a very ambitious project that will certainly add value to the community and contribute to the renaissance in the area. I do hope that we can continue to focus, though, on ownership in the community, because what I don't want Destination Crenshaw to become is an homage to what the neighborhood used to be. Mm-hmm. I want Black people living in the community to enjoy what's being created now with Destination Crenshaw.
Well, certainly furthering the theme of culture and supporting creative economy, which is so important to our region. Diane and I were so grateful to be invited to join Akil and his team at the launch this past weekend of your arts lab. So tell us about that was just great. Congratulations, and thank you for having us. Tell us about the arts lab and what you're hoping to achieve with the arts lab.
Well, the art lab is actually directly across the street from where Destination Crenshaw is going to be. And like Diane said, I think it's important for our ownership, right? And to make sure the developers are thinking about the community. And in this case, with Treehouse, the developers who own the building that we're in, they donated the space that we're in right now.
Okay.
They're going to actually start construction in January, and so we have the space until then. And they also promised us the space inside of it.
Oh, excellent. What are they developing?
They're developing a 7-story, really nice apartment building.
Okay.
That's going to have a private club at the top. It's going to have it's going to kind of be like the Central Market.
Oh,
They're setting up like a Black
Oh,
Central Market inside of the space. It's going to be a Black co-op inside of it. The place is owned by a brother by the name of Prophet Walker.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yes. So
Oh,
Prophet, his company, he's also formerly incarcerated. I met him through a couple of friends who are kind of doing big things, who are formerly incarcerated, and they connected me with his brother, and he introduced me to his space and said he loved what we were doing and wanted us to come over and see what we can do to the space. So I think that's what it's all about, making sure the developers come up in here and pay homage to the community and give back. Over 50% of the apartments is going to be low income, and then the rest of the apartments is going to be below market. So, he's really into making sure that it stays in the community and that we support the arts. And that's what I love about Destination Crenshaw and Marquise.
So you've got Soul Folks and you've got the Arts Lab just open, but I understand you're launching an incubator this summer as well.
Yes.
So you are a one-man entrepreneurial machine in Leimert Park.
Who doesn't sleep, apparently.
Yeah. But I understand the power of delegating, right?
Okay.
And working together. And this is through, I'm working with Tech Leimert, and I did, I think it was for Christmas during the wintertime, I worked with Arts Center College of Design, where they did a class called Soul Folks, where they help us rebrand, put together the whole thing. And I met a professor named Professor Rose, who teaches sneaker design. And I spoke to him about creating a program for our students, and I wanted to incorporate what I spoke about earlier, the buying, selling, and reselling sneakers, and the correlation between purchasing homes or purchasing stock and watch the value go up and down, holding, and then also the service industry, which is cleaning sneakers and refurbishing sneakers and that kind of thing. Like I said, we have to meet these young people where they are. They're in love with sneakers. They're understanding the concept of purchasing something and walking out of the store and the values being, going up immediately. So I kind of want to, keep that energy moving, but teach them how that can translate. And so, yes, this summer, in July, we're going to do a contest, and then I think it's going to be like 16 students are going to be entered into the cohort.
Wow,
and then next year, we're going to be doing this at Crenshaw High School. We meet with Audubon, and it's another junior high school that wants to incorporate this.
Keep us posted on that.
I will.
Again, as we said in the intro, we at Civitas LA really focused on, who's building, serving, creating community. How do you share your stories to inspire others to get involved? Do you feel that the Leimert Park residents are a civically engaged, active community? You all clearly are highly engaged. Is the community, coming together and engaged in these issues?
I can tell you from my experience on the Leimert Park Master Plan, they were extremely engaged. I think they're even more sophisticated now. Diane has been very active in advising the community about what's going on, and the community has responded. I firmly believe the community is mobilized and will be a voice. And this is different than what has been historically going on in Leimert Park. They will be a voice. They will be an influence on the development in Leimert Park. I am excited about we are this season we're working collectively, and that's so important.
That's great.
It's so important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think Leimert Park has probably the greatest number of homeowners associations and block clubs than a lot of other communities. We also have the Empowerment Congress West Neighborhood Council, on which I serve as the Area 3 rep for Leimert Park. And it is a very active, engaged community, and that's something that I really love about it.
Well, Diane, you said you've been there about 7 years, but my gosh, you are heavily engaged. I know you're on your neighborhood council, you're president of your block club, founder of the Leimert Park Jazz Festival. What drives you to serve, and how do you encourage others to get involved?
I like to say that I make a living as a lawyer and make a life as a prolific volunteer serving my community. I do think that servant leadership is critically important to our communities. Mm-hmm. It's what drives me personally, and for that reason, I find it natural to give my time, talent, and treasure to my community.
Well, I'm going to throw you a curveball that we did not discuss, but I know you're the head of the Leimert Park Jazz Festival, but episode 6 was Mark Wilson from the Coalition for Responsible Community Development, and we talked about the history of the Central Avenue Jazz Festival. So which one is better?
That is so unfair, Dwayne. I will say that the Leimert Park Jazz Festival will grow and enjoy the same longevity as the Central Avenue Jazz Festival, which I believe is in its 26th year, I think. So this summer, August 28th, we will be presenting the Leimert Park Jazz Festival at the Baldwin Hills Crenshaw Plaza. And this will be the 4th year. I'm very excited. I see so much for this festival and so excited about really celebrating jazz, celebrating community, and celebrating the cultural heritage of Leimert Park. And I executive produce the festival in association with Dwight Tribble and the World Stage. And this year's event is being presented with the generous support of Councilmember Mark Ridley Thomas with Council District 10, along with Councilmember Marquise Harris Dawson in Council District 8, as well as Destination Crenshaw, which was mentioned earlier.
Where will the festival be held?
The Baldwin Hills Crenshaw Plaza.
Gotcha. Excellent. Wow, that's amazing. So, Mark Wilson, watch out because Leimert Park is coming for you. So before we go to our final thoughts, we always like to have a little lightning round, and that's an opportunity for our listeners. I'm grateful to say that we have listeners in 23 countries and all over the U.S. and, of course, here in the greater L.A. area. So I always like to have a little lightning round, a little fun, to share with our listeners insight look at your L.A., or in this case, your Leimert Park. So these are just quick answers to your favorite places in Leimert Park to share with our listeners. Diane, favorite place to take a visitor to Leimert Park?
The World Stage.
Okay, World Stage. Akil?
Napoli Naturals.
Okay. Roland?
Hot and cool, best coffee.
Okay. Favorite restaurant? Akil?
Holy Moly.
Holy Moly, okay. Roland?
Have to be my wife, Akil Bamboo. She's Jamaican.
Which was actually a favorite restaurant of our guest episode 7, actually. So, yes, indeed. Diane?
This is a new place that's not quite open yet. They're doing pop-ups until their permits are settled, but all chill ice cream.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, great.
And I'm going to consider ice cream a proper food.
That's right.
Okay, this is not a trick question, but favorite retail store? Akil?
So, folks.
Roland?
No question, so folks.
Diane?
Can I have 2?
Sure.
So Folks and Essawan Books.
Oh, yeah, of course.
All right.
That's the OGs. You got to do that.
Okay, we love about community events that bring people together. Favorite community activity or event? Akil?
Our farmers markets.
Farmers markets, okay.
Yes.
Roland?
Drum circle.
Diane?
The Leimert Park Jazz Festival, of course. Find us on Facebook and Instagram at Leimert Park Jazz Festival, and at our website at www.leimertparkjazzfestival.com.
Well, this has been great. So we always want to give the guests the final word. What are your hopes for the future of the community, and how do others get involved in the work that you're doing or other avenues for civic engagement in your community? Akil, any final thoughts?
I just can't wait till we finally have like a nice promenade and adequate parking for the kids. I want the park to open up so they can get their toes through the grass, and mothers don't have to worry about looking around and make sure the kids aren't in the streets. That's what I'm waiting on. Yeah.
Diane, final thoughts.
I'm looking forward to Leimert Park really enjoying its fullest potential. I think that this is a long time coming, and I think we're really on the precipice of something wonderful. And I want, frankly, I want people who look like us to be able to remain there and enjoy the changes that are afoot.
Roland, you've been there the longest, you've seen the most. Mm-hmm. Final thoughts from you.
A young lady described Leimert Park as the mothership of black culture. And that mothership is missing. That architecture, that cultural mothership is missing in Leimert Park. And that is my vision and my commitment to advocate for a cultural center that teaches us our history, that celebrates our culture, that promotes the art and supports the arts. I think that is extremely important. I see it at that location at 43rd and Degnan, the parking lot right next to the Vision Theater. I absolutely see artist housing as a part of it. Yes, it's extremely important, and I would encourage all the listeners out there to advocate and to promote and to speak for our mothership to land at 43rd and Degnan.
That's right.
And that vision has a lot of support already in the community.
Oh, yeah.
Good.
Most definitely.
Well, this has been a great conversation, and you've left us with a lot to think about. So Thank you, Diane. Thank you, Akil. Thank you, Roland, for being with us tonight. And a special thank you goes to our friends at Community Build, based in Leimert Park, for their generous support of this episode and their ongoing support of the work of Civitas LA. To learn more about the work of Community Build, please visit www.communitybuild.org. Thank you to Robert Saucedo and his team at Community Build for their belief in our work. And to our audience, thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this program, and we invite your feedback. Please join us in 2 weeks as we look forward to another great civic conversation. And as we say on Civitas LA, until we meet again, stay strong and get involved. To learn more about Civitas LA and share feedback on this program, or if you have a recommendation about future programs, please visit our website at www.civitasla.com. And if you're on our site, we invite you to take our listener survey and offer your suggestions. We also invite you to visit our support page and consider ways that you might support this work, including through the purchase of some great new merchandise that we have, including a great Civitas LA tote bag and an outstanding Civitas LA face mask, which everyone is wearing right now. And finally, as we grow our Civitas LA family, we invite you to connect with us on Facebook at Civitas LA, Instagram at Civitas_LA, and on Twitter at Civitas_LA.